10:35, so get this. Pop star Lorde is getting candid about something a little unexpected, therapy involving MDMA, which is kind of interesting, right?
It's like ecstasy, right?
A little scary, but also, all right. In a recent interview, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, she said the psychedelic drug, sometimes known as Molly or ecstasy, helped her overcome a lifetime of debilitating stage fright. Interesting. Okay. She called it a game changer for her mental health. While it might sound unconventional, MDMA-assisted therapy is real, though it is experimental still. It's a form of treatment that's gaining traction in the mental health world. So how does it work, and what should people know before considering it? We're joined by Dr. Joshua Eloge with Rush Medical Group to help break it down. Good morning, Joshua.
Hey.
Thanks for joining us,
Hey, Natalie. Hey, Kaitlin. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Okay, so I mean, we're familiar with this as a party drug. I have done stories on magic mushrooms because of their psychedelic effects, being able to rewire the brain and help with trauma. Is it a similar thing with MDMA, excuse me. You can tell I've never used the drug. Tell me how this works.
Yeah, it's a really great question. So MDMA, ecstasy, or Molly, is a drug that's been out, really popular kind of in club cultures. But we found that there are some potential therapeutic benefits for MDMA. There was a couple studies, done in post-traumatic stress disorder a couple years ago that used MDMA and coupled it with therapy. And they found that that is a useful combination. However, it's not currently FDA approved. It's still a Schedule I drug, which means that the Drug Enforcement Agency at the federal level has said that there's not really enough evidence for this to be safe for use. And so we're kind of in an interesting spot where there's potentially some experimental options, but as of now, it's not really available through conventional ways.
So how is Lorde using this? Is she going to her doctor? How did she get approved for it?
That's a really great question. As of now, it's not available through any kind of prescription if you go see a physician. And so unclear how she's been able to get this.
Now I know that I think she's
British?
British? Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Maybe it's from, in the UK.
I mean, obviously they have different regulations than we do. Have you heard of any studies over there maybe that they're doing, or is it more accessible to people overseas?
I think that as of now, the use in the U.S. is through research, through clinical trials. In other countries, there may be some other available ways to get some of these drugs, but as of now in the U.S., because of those restrictions, we don't really have a conventional way outside of clinical trials, that is, to be able to go forward with that. That being said, we have clinical trials. We're conducting some here at Rush with psilocybin. You mentioned
That's
the
right.
magic mushroom. Looking specifically at treatment-resistant depression. And so in the context of a research study, yes, there's some availability to work with some of these drugs, which we're doing here. But I'm not sure how Lorde is able to get it.
What is MDMA and what does it do to your body?
MDMA has several different mechanisms by which it works in our body. So there are usual neurotransmitters like dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin. These are ones that we use a lot in depression and anxiety disorders. And those are useful for mood, for attention, some different things like that. But what's interesting about MDMA is it also works with a couple other receptors, including oxytocin. And oxytocin is a pro-social, kind of it's called like the love drug. It induces some of these really positive feelings toward others. So MDMA is somewhat unique in being able to hit many different systems.
I feel like almost the bigger story with this, which I learned as you were reading it, the fact that a performer had stage fright, and so she's trying to use this to overcome that. So any idea when this might be available? I mean, how long does it take the FDA to run through these? I mean, this could be like 10 years, right?
So I mentioned that a couple years ago, there were a couple big phase three. So this is going to be like many, many people, hundreds typically, that go through the treatments compared to people who don't go through the treatments. And then you're really able to see, is this safe? Is this effective treatment? And remember, that was specifically for post-traumatic stress disorder. Those studies were done and they went to the FDA last year, and the FDA actually decided not to approve it.
Ah,
They were concerned about some issues with the study design and some other issues, and so they asked the company that was trying to go forward with getting this approved to go back and do more studies to establish more related to safety and efficacy. And this is really important with these psychedelic studies. It's a new avenue that we're going through in research. It's exciting, but safety is such a big thing, right? And so while there's a lot of potential, we do need to establish that these are safe and who these are safe treatments for.
So you mentioned psilocybin. Now we're talking about MDMA. Are there any other psychedelic drugs that you guys are looking at for this?
As of now, we are doing psilocybin, mostly for depression, and that's where perhaps the most evidence is. And then there are some other compounds that are working similarly in the psychedelic space. There's a specific receptor that all psychedelics hit. It's called 5-HT2A. It's a serotonin receptor. So there's a couple other compounds that are coming out also trying to target that specific receptor. And then there are other treatments kind of in this space. Ibogaine is one that's got some cool research out of Stanford, and now Texas is trying to do a little bit more work in that space for substance use disorders, PTSD, potentially. So yeah, there are many new exciting ones to come out, but again, they're all going to need to establish the safety profile in addition to seeing what different psychiatric disorders they might be effective for.
yeah, because it's like whenever when you're a kid, you're growing up, you're like, you think, and even now, I mean, the use of those drugs will just melt your brain. Like you won't have the cognitive abilities that you used to have. But in fact, and I'm sure you found this with your psilocybin, your mushroom studies, that it is able, the brain can be rewired in a really effective way to help people with PTSD. Do you find that the rewiring then is permanent for those people that go through this treatment? And are you ever in danger of reducing their cognitive abilities because of the drug?
At this point, based on phase one, which is like, is this safe in healthy folks? Phase two, hey, if we get people with depression, is this kind of safe in those? And then going forward with the phase three studies, which is what we're currently working on now. There doesn't seem to be, at least that we've seen to date in psilocybin, any significant problems from a cognitive perspective, which is really reassuring. Certainly, more data is going to be useful, and long-term use is going to be useful. But as of now, it's looking promising. That's a really interesting point about how might these medicines work specifically for the different diseases that we're looking at. So in depression, Natalie, I think you were mentioning this.
Sure.
There are specific areas in the brain that are affected, and people can get kind of stuck in these specific hubs deep down in the brain, and it's hard to kind of get unstuck from those areas and be able to use other parts of the brain that are really important for cognition, for a whole host of things. And psilocybin has this really interesting research showing that people who successfully have that treatment, they're able to use those different parts of the brain that when they were depressed, they weren't able to do. So that's a really exciting area to see if that maybe means that there is an improvement in these different maybe cognitive measures, or in decreasing the risk of future depressive episodes. Remember, the reason why we're going forward with these studies is that depression is an awful disorder. It robs people of their ability to hang out with their family, to work, to do so many different things. And that in itself is bad for the brain, right? And so if we can get some treatments that are going to be able to restore that functioning, hopefully it also promotes brain health, which obviously is good long-term too.
Goodness gracious. I'm so glad you guys are doing
I know,
this
it's
study.
really amazing,
Thank
isn't it, that you guys are looking back on these drugs that we thought were so harmful to help people.
People can, it's desperation sometimes at this point. If someone is looking to get more information about the studies that you guys are doing specifically with psilocybin, does Rush have a website that people can get updates about what you guys have found?
Yeah, so our center is called the Women's Board Depression Treatment Research Center. So that's something you can Google. Rush.edu is the Rush website. And then 312 942-6597 directly comes to our center so that we can get in touch with anyone who might be interested in these studies. As of now, the study that we're doing is primarily, what we're talking about here, folks who haven't really had a good response to the typical stuff that's available, the typical antidepressants. And so if the depression has not really responded to those, it's still present, looking for what other options there may be. And that's currently who we're recruiting for.
All right, Dr. Eloge, thank you so much. This was very interesting, eye-opening stuff.
Yeah, thank you so much. Giving so many people hope.